All right, yeah, I want to check the voltages here. I don't want to just go changing anything, even though the wattage difference isn't that substantial. So what I'll do is I'm going to just start in here and take a look at Q2 is where I'll start, because let's see, that would be basically like the pre-driver, I believe. And these two guys here would be Q4 and Q3 are the drivers. And then that's where it kind of breaks apart, I believe. On the schematic we'll look. That's where it breaks apart and goes to the VHF, which is underneath the speaker here, the VHF amplifiers. They look like they got a little hot, though. Have to take a look at that. It might just be flux on the board. And then the HF amplifiers are here, so. Back up, 13.6. And power is on. Alright. We're on 14 megahertz, 14016 megahertz. I have the power set about midway. Doesn't much matter. I'm not really looking for anything. But what I do want to do is make sure I have my dummy load connected. So we're still on antenna 2. Should be right here. Confirm that. Antenna 2 right here. Antenna 2. We'll move this out of the way so we can see the fluke. It's a fluke. Make sure that we are going into the dummy load. And we're on FM. Alright, it's going through the fluke. So let's see. The voltage of the Q1, of course, one certainly should be rail power. About 13 point. I don't know if you can see that. I'll put that over there if you can see it. Maybe change this a little bit here. That way. 13.36. And then the emitter right there, that should be about 0. It's got something. And then the base should be probably about 0. Now when I transmit, we should get, I believe, around 2 volts or somewhere in that area at the, I forget what it was, at the base, and then 0.7 at the emitter. So hit the transmit button, and again, it doesn't really matter the amount of power. This is just the DC biasing of the transistor. This is basically turning it on and setting the level. Alright, we're going through there, that's good. Still have 12.69, yeah, it'll drop a little bit because things are actuated. The base has 1.19, that's probably about right. And the emitter has 198. Do I have them backwards? Either way, one of them should have 0.07. Alright, one should be at about 0.07 and the other, which that's not that much higher. 198. I think that's a little bit lower than it should be. I'd have to look. That is interesting though, that is 120. Let's see. Turned off. 0. That up and make sure base collector and emitter. Alright, so pin 1 is the base. So that one really probably shouldn't have much of anything. I don't know why it has that 0.01 on it. That's interesting. But that should only get turned on when it gets the transmit voltage, which is the, I think it's 8 volts or 9 volts. And I have to look at the schematic again. So, and it goes through a voltage divider, so you're not going to get that full voltage here, and I'll show you all that in a minute. So, and then of course the emitter, this goes through a resistor to ground. So we'll take a look and see. But the base, let's see what our base voltage is. 1.97. So about 2 volts. And in a minute we'll get the schematic up there and look at that. So 1.97. The base should be about 0.07. And that's almost double it. Interesting. Let me see if our computer's going to work today. Oh, there we go. Let me get the schematics up because I changed them a little bit to make them easier to look at. So let's see. Let me turn this off. We'll wait a few minutes. Ah, there we go. That's much better. I'll get this. Where do you see this? Pause it. All right, sorry, but it can't be sleepy time right now because I'm going to need the lights here so I can see what I'm doing. All right, this is the power amplifier board. And as you can see, if you follow the lines, I made them different colors so we know. Orange is the VHF and UHF. And that's way here on the left side of the screen. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Yeah, so this comes in from the RF unit, and it comes and goes this way. And let's see. There is... That's set FET, and that is, what is that, Q1. And then the signal comes down, it's still the orange, so it's still both VHF and UHF. And then it comes down and it goes to this driver right here. That's Q2, that's the one I was just looking at. After it comes out of Q2, it follows this way and it goes to Q3 and 4, which are these two, set up in what looks to be like a push-pull operation. Then the signal comes out and it goes through this relay. And here in this relay is where we can see where the magic happens. Yellow would continue down the path to the HF. And then it goes up to the filters, and there it is there. And then green, we'll go back down to that relay again. Back down. Green goes up the path here to these amplifiers, which are the finals for VHF. And then they come out of there, and they go that way, and how they'll kind of join back together, and then they go out. They don't join back together here, but I mean they all go out through, back across, then the filter units. So anyhow, that's where they separate. So you can see there's two different final amplifiers. But where I was originally checking was way back here. I wanted to check. The reason I didn't grab the FET first is because it's smaller. So I thought I'll just grab this one right here. So let's see, I'm checking for the voltage, and it's telling me that I should have, on the emitter, I should have 0 and then 0.7. And that's where I'm showing 0.01. And no, that's on the base, I think I'm showing 0.01. So I'm showing that 0.01, 0, and then I'm showing 1.17 or something like that. Just higher. Go away. So, and as you can see, it comes down here to this resistor to ground. It's a 4.7, if you can believe that. 4.7. So there's no other voltage here. It shouldn't be getting anything from anywhere else. So for some reason, we're getting too much through this. is the transistor failed, or is the bias too high? Well, we can do Ohm's law through all these and then figure out, because this is a voltage divider circuit, because, let's see, this goes up to, I'm trying to find where the transmission is 8 volts. T8V stands for 8 volts. Transmit, that's where you turn it on. And here it comes down, just a simple voltage divider, because the DC can't go through these capacitors, so think about it like this. It goes this way, so these two would almost be in series. These two resistors here would almost be in series. And then your tap for your voltage divider would come off going into the basic Q2. Yeah, sure, we're going to have a little bit going up that way too. We're going to ignore that for now. It's going to be minimal. And then 220, so I don't know, probably 2-3 volts, maybe somewhere, maybe 2 volts, and we have about that. So why is it so high here? All right, so the next thing I just want to try real quick is just an ohm test for the leads that are in question. That would be the emitter and the base. There you can see, let's tied to there, we'll just see, put it on ohms, and this I'm going just to the case to check it out. So here goes the base, should be about, well, let's see, the base to ground, 163. All right, let's go do some voltage tests here, and I wanted to test on the on the drivers. And something I noticed here, see if you can see this as well. I noticed it with I'll turn the power way down to idle here. So let's see, the driver voltage, so this is without transmit. Where are we at here? All right, hopefully you can see this. It's at 13.48 volts. Power's way turned on. Drops down to 13.8. That's almost with no power. I'll give it a little bit of power. Drops down to 1256. And that's only putting out 20 watts. Make sure I turn it off. Okay. And it goes right back up. So I'm thinking to myself, over here, if you look at our meter, I know that they give you 8 million miles a cord with this radio, but hopefully you can see this meter here. I'll zoom in a little bit. All right, we'll even put this one right beside it. You see both of them? No, you can't. Let me turn this off so you can hopefully see a little bit better. And then I'll turn this so you can see. I'm going to be going to the same location I was at. Pay particular attention to the voltage there, 13.6, and up here. This is in receive mode, 1335, so there is a little bit of a difference. Watch my transmit. 1177, 20 watts, that stays at 13.6. I come over here and test the voltage here, and I'm showing, 12 point something. What the heck? Now if I put both the positive and negative in here, I'm at 1356, still transmitting. Turn the transmit off, it stays at about 1356. Make sure it's off, okay. So while I was doing that, I noticed this cord's actually getting warm. Not super hot, but warm. So this is of great interest here. Let me move all this out of the way. Here's where you put the tools away. And what I'm going to do, let me zoom out a little bit. Same power supply. I'm going to put another jumper in and run to the negative side here. Let me turn this off. I'm going to run to the negative side on the radio, the black to negative. All right. And I'll get a red wire. And I'm going to put the red wire in here. I'm going to go to the red side of the radio right here. Okay. Now, I want you to point your attention to the bird watt meter. I'll be able to zoom it in so you can kind of see what I'm doing at the same time. Okay. Here's the bird. Same slug that's been in there, the 100 watt. We'll turn this thing back on, make sure red to red, black good enough. All right. I'm on FM at 14.029 megahertz, and we'll transmit, paying particular attention to the bird. Well over 100 watts. I'm not going to say well over, but over 100 watts. So I'm just going to pull one of the, I'll unplug both of these leads. I don't want to cause any sparks. Here's the negative lead. Here's the positive lead. And back, hit transmit. Oh. There it is. The highest I can get is about 75 to 80. Apparently I had that transmitting the whole time. I will tell you this. The final and the drivers are slightly warm, but not that bad. Slightly. And while I have it off, I'll show you. So I have to find what I'm going to do about this. Kind of interesting. I don't know if it's the connectors here. Maybe the connectors are actually loose back in the radio. I'll show you where I'm working at now. Alright, so back here, here's the connector in the radio. Let me turn this off. Let me turn this off too, because I have two live leads sitting on my lap. I don't want to hit those together and have a costly repair, weld something with 30 watts or 30 amps. Okay, here's the connector, goes in the back. There's 4 pins in it. I don't know if those pins may be loose or inadequate wire. Like I said, they give you 8 million miles of wire here. I don't know if really that's, I don't know what they thought I'd be doing with it. But anyhow, so the problem is a power delivery problem on this radio. Glad I took it all apart for that, huh? But what I did want to show you is, while I had it apart, underneath here, and this will pull right out. There's an IC that sits on, that lives right under here that everybody talks about when you start to have similar problems. But from what I gathered, it is when you have almost no power out. In my case, I knew it had to be something odd because it had a good amount of power out. And as you saw, it wasn't just the supply lead, it was also the ground lead. So it's both leads going into this connector. Oh, anyhow, to get this off, this is on the bottom side. You know, the only thing you have to take off is, I'll put this back on. But you can check that. There's a couple ways that people tell you to check it. Mine was getting, again, slightly warm, not hot. Guess if it was getting hot, I'd be more concerned. But this goes right on here, like that. There's 4 screws that hold it on. I'll be putting this back on. But I just wanted to show you that's where that's at. And the bottom panel goes back on top of it. So we'll put it all back together and we're going to work on, well, Maybe I shouldn't put that together so I know for sure if it's the pins or what's the problem with this. At least I can put the bottom back on. All right, so I'll join you in a little bit. Alrighty, so what I've done here, first I just tried jiggling the connector back here to see if it made any difference in the output. If it was loose terminals, that of course would make that change, but it never moved, pretty much rock solid, just under 80 watts. So what I want to do is just kind of try simulating a shorter lead. So I plugged the power right into here, and I disconnected over here what was plugged into the power supply. Keep everything separate. I'll try that. Okay, so now that I have it like that, it's just basically going to be shorter leads rather than this 8 miles of stuff. That'll just make it look like it's a shorter lead. So we'll try here and see if that helps us any. We'll zoom you in a little bit so you can see the bird a little bit better. And see what we get. Make sure I don't blow anything up. Black and black, red to red, red and black. Okay. That goes on. 13.6 on the power supply. On with you. All right. FM, still same frequency. We'll do the output. My antenna lead's connected back up. All right. So I think the idea is going to be shorter length on the power supply. I'm almost at 100 watts exactly with that, and I think that'll work for us. All right. So we finished putting it back together, and I will be back. And that's something weird too. Let me turn this all off. Let the power supply cycle down for a minute there. All right, it's off. That's not a problem to cut those shorter and use them because I actually wanted to do that anyhow. They're really long. They're about like 18 feet long. I don't know. So, what's up with this? Got real short legs on the front and longer ones on the back. But these don't even touch. The bottom of the case touches the ground before these do. So I don't know what the story is with that. I don't know, maybe if they should be rotated. But these have little grommets that hold them in, and those have screws, so not sure what to make of that. Okay, anyhow, I'm going to look that up in the manual and see what kind of feet that's supposed to have on the bottom. Maybe they're rotated somehow, I don't know. All right. All right, I found it in the manual, and you can see these little doodads right here. I can light that up for you a little bit to see it. Apparently there's some kind of a foot that went on here, maybe flipped on, but that was just the anchor spot, and the front end that clipped in there somehow. I don't know. I don't know why you would take those off. Maybe they broke. I'm not sure. But anyhow, I'll have to find something some equivalent, like even something like that was about that size. I could put them on the front, and even just glue something, you know, the little sticking pads to put on there just to raise it off the screws. That was kind of weird. Okay, just wanted to show you that. All right, don't pay any mind that that's all spare parts. No, I'm just kidding. Clean the bench off a little bit. So went with about a 4-foot long cable that was actually cutting off 6 feet. And I'll change the terminals on the end that had crimpy terminals, which I will put crimpies back on just so it's not beating up the wire all the time. Sorry. Let's see, we're going to get you over there. We're going to try it out. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm sure it's going to be much better. All right, so there we go. We have power turned up all the way on FM 14, same frequency. I don't think you can see the bird. Where is she? There she is. Zoom into that. I'm hoping that we can at least get somewhat close to 100. So let's see what we get. Transmit. First, I guess I better put on the right antenna. Antenna 1, transmit. Almost 100 watts. We're going to go with that. We're going to be happy with that. Let me see. Put a microphone on it. And put the bird on the peak reading. And we'll see what CW gives us. I want to see what this reads up front here anyhow on the actual couple things I want to check that I kind of forgot about. Hoping you can see that. Alright, so it's on FM. Still, when it hits transmit, let's see what happens with the ALC and the percentage of power. Percentage goes to 100%, ALC goes a little 2 dots past. Let's see on AM. AM should go to about 40 watts in AM. I don't know what the ALC will do. Same thing, about 40 watts. That was where it was supposed to go. So now when we put it on single sideband, we'll plug the microphone into it. It's just a factory Icom microphone. I'm not sure if that's factory for what comes with these or not. We'll plug that in. And we'll turn the mic gain up to about half. If it was all the way, we'll turn it to about half. And test, hello. Let's turn it up a little bit more than that. Hello. So almost 100 watts on the bird. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. ALC. I can get that. Probably go a little higher on the ALC according to that. Hello. There we go. Okay, so that's getting us about right about 100. All right. So as you can see, this wire is slightly warm and not hot, but it's slightly warm. So let's see how many amps we're putting. We're going to come back over here and look at that. Let's see when we put FM, full power, and set. 16.7. Yeah, 16.7, and it was going right up to 100 watts. So I think we're good with that. So I guess that let it be a lesson to you. Don't take your radio all apart, but pay attention to your spidey senses. I saw that low reading, and at first I was going to breeze over it because I figured it was close up to 12 volts. But then I thought, wait a minute, we're not really putting any power out of this radio. It's on minimal amount of power. Why would it be dropping that low? So I don't know. Maybe they make an aftermarket for this, or like a heavier cord. I think this is a number 10, so I don't know if you get too much heavier, you won't be able to put it anywhere. I don't think I have that same issue with the Kenwood. I know I have a longer cord, but it might have something to do with how that cord actually terminates the back, where it actually goes into 2 smaller wires and comes out. So either way, it's a power delivery issue. So if you're having this problem, be sure to check that out before you take your radio all apart. Thanks for watching.